You look wiser, older.
My
Everything you say
glasses, my
has,
glasses. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's no glasses and beard. Okay, I
Always,
think
always.
Lou made it. It's cool. Where are you, Luis? You're in
I'm
Mexico right
in
now?
Mexico City right now. I wish I was on the
Very.
back with Cupriata Guerrero, but couldn't.
Yeah, I was just in Michoacan.
Michoac.
I was in Tacámbaro, in Caulote.
Yeah, Memo sent me the pictures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
Awesome,
did.
awesome. Great, 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 great. Yeah, that was an awesome. I mean, I got bitten by all sorts of mysterious insects because we were in between the sugar cane, and you know how that happens. But it was fascinating. It was really good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Miguel or Memo. I don't. It's
It's Moises.
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 Sorry,
Yeah,
Moy,
yeah, yeah.
Moy. Yeah,
Moi,
yeah,
moi, moi,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, which I kept on calling him Moise, and they kept on telling me, well, that's another thing. That's not his nickname. But
Yeah, I don't know where in that picture where the clock and the TV on the back. I don't know where that is.
Okay,
yeah,
Luis, I'm
Sorry, I
going to
can't
make
see
you
it.
disappear
see.
now. You're going to disappear. Okay, well,
Luis,
you're not
always
going to
nice to see you.
disappear. You're just not going to be on screen. You will still exist. Hey, okay. So instead of being live on Facebook, Chava, we're going to be live on YouTube, which doesn't mean anything to anybody who's actually watching right now because they're watching us and they don't need to go somewhere else. They can watch us right where they are.
Yes, which is great. But
Okay, so,
yeah,
so we should start this, shouldn't we? Because they're all
yes,
waiting.
yes, we should. So a
Okay,
moment of silence.
I'm Lou Bank.
I am Chava Perivan.
And this, wait, what is this? This is Drink Agave with us. It is an Agave Spirits 101 session. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope everybody has their little bottle. You don't have your bottles, do you, Chava?
I do have many
You
of the
forgot them.
expressions we're just I have a lot of the expressions that we're tasting. I have a great memory when it comes to agave spirits. So the few that I don't have in front of me, I'll be very happy to remember. And shout out to El Paso. Thanks for visiting this 101 session. There's people from all over the place. So this is very exciting.
It is exciting. It's weird. It felt to me like you and I were doing these about 2 or 3 times a week during the pandemic, and it's been a long time since we did one. I'm feeling a little rusty.
Well, it feels weird. Also, like you did give me a trick the other day, was like just canceling viewing yourself so you don't have a mirror in front of you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Just like, and I
So
think
you're
that's a
not
great
looking at
idea.
yourself. Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, and that's helping
Yeah.
a lot. I'm not that
Yeah.
self-conscious. So if I look terrible and or have a bugger on my face or something, just please let
I'll
me
let
know
you
because
know. I'll let
thank
you
you
if
very
you see
much.
me if you see me pulling on my ear, that means you should check for
Oh, I
boogers.
really appreciate that. Thank you
Okay.
very much, Lou.
Okay. So before we get started, I wanted to thank our sponsor. Who's our sponsor today, Chava?
Oh, that's always your part. I don't do the commercials.
Oh
You
yeah,
do
I
the
do that.
commercials.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Our
Come on.
sponsor is the secret origin of mezcal. It's a can. It's a coffee cold can. What does coffee cold mean? Well, it's like cold coffee, but it's coffee cold. Why is it that? I don't know. Because it's not cold brewed. It's hot brewed, and then it's made cold, and it's put in these beautiful cans. This is a project that we did with Dark Matter Coffee and Cruz de Fuego Mezcal. What they did was, I know you're really interested. What they did, is that in the chat? Are they asking? Sure. What they did was they took Katui. I'm going to say it's pronounced Katui. Sorry if you're not pronounced Katui. And then they conditioned the green Katui coffee beans
Mm.
with Cruz de Fuego Espadín Mezcal. They
And wait,
conditioned.
wait, wait. When you say conditioning, what does that entail?
Okay, so conditioning, that's when you do a lot of sit-ups and push-ups
Oh, come
and
on.
like.
Now, come on. Like,
Okay, so what it
we're
means is
talking
they
about
put
this.
it in,
Yes.
yeah, no, it's fair. So they put it into a giant pressurized canister. They added pressure, and so that the mezcal and the beans, they were fused as one beautiful thing, like that
Oh.
holy matrimony you were talking about earlier. So they did that, and then they roast the beans. So you're cooking out. They say all of the alcohol. I don't think it's all out. I think there's a little in here,
Oh,
and
really?
I do think so. I think so. And so, and then they brew it. I think it's at 200 degrees, is what they told me. They brew it at 200 degrees using filtered water, and then they chill it, and they put it into this beautiful can that has been decorated by our very good friend Chema Scandal.
And can I say why I'm so in love with that? Can I explain?
Please.
There's this amazing place in Jalisco called Tonala, which at some point was probably one of the powerhouses of craft in whole Latin America, if not the planet. It has it has gone to less these days. When you go there, you find a lot of unfortunate stuff. But if Moo gets out of the way and we can see the chickens behind him, which supposedly
Am I out
one
of
of
the way? I can't
yeah,
tell
you're
because
out
I'm
of the
not.
way. That's
Okay.
great. Yes, one
Yeah.
of them is Lou. The other one is mine. Lou, of course, is a pink one, and those are a very traditional clay style from that area called Betus, and we're obsessed with that. And they're beautiful, and I'm so happy they have to decorate the coffee can.
Oh, they're so cute. So anyway, this is there's only like 800 cans of this. It's an Agave Road Trip release, which makes us laugh. There's only like 800 cans of it. We're going to be showing up in New York. Chava flies there tomorrow. I drive there.
Yes,
Why do I drive there? Why
because you're
do
a
I drive
crazy
there?
man. Because you're a crazy man.
Well, that is accurate, but I'm driving because I'm like I couldn't check all of the coffee and be sure that it would actually. Literally, I'm driving so that I can bring a bunch of cases of this coffee to New York for the events that we're doing. So we're going to be doing. Nobody knows about the Wednesday thing. That's a private thing.
Okay.
Thursday's also a private thing.
Oh Lord.
We're going to have dinner at David Suro's Tequilas in Philadelphia on Thursday night. So if you guys are around, you might want to pop in, but early because I'm an old man, so it's early dinner. And it's a private, it's dinner. It's
Yeah,
dinner.
and
Anyway,
it's gonna be chill.
and Friday we're doing a taco crawl. You don't get to do that either. But on Saturday we're
Oh
going to
Lord.
Bowl of Zole. Bowl of Zole, Zole, which is a festival of mezcal and pozole, the beautiful Mexican stew known as pozole. So we're going to be
Yes.
at that festival. You can get tickets at bowlofzole.com, and we're going to be pouring. We're going to be pouring. Not you don't get a can. You don't because you've not been good. You get a pour. I've got a bunch of growlers full of it. A pour of this coffee. And then we've got other treats that will be, and we'll also be live interviewing chefs and brand owners from there on our Instagram and Facebook pages, assuming Facebook doesn't screw me again, right?
Yes, and this is the longest commercial you ever done. Can we jump into what brought us here today, please?
Just one more thing,
Oh
and
Lord.
then on Sunday we're hosting a Mezcal Sunday brunch, and if everybody who attends that, it's at the cabinet. If you go to mezcalbrunch.com, don't go to mezcalsundaybrunch.com. Go to mezcalbrunch.com and you get tickets. Everybody who attends gets an actual can. The only other way to get the can is to show up at the right place at the right time. One of the dark matter coffee houses in Chicago. I think they'll go on sale next week. So now this is Agave Spirits 101. I'm going to change my background. Say something, Chava.
Lou. Lou is changing his background to the 818 background because they're our first invitees of the night, correct?
That is
Oh,
correct. So what I
okay,
want to
fine.
do, like this is Agave Spirits 101. And so many people will say, all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila, which was
What?
accurate. I know. It's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah, like I like you keep on saying that, and I just do not understand. Well, I sort of understand what's the reason behind that, but it doesn't make any sense because you
Right,
will say it.
because right, so tequila is a denomination of origin. It has been since was it the 70s? I think it's the 70s.
Yeah, I
Sometime
mean,
around there.
David is going to
Yeah.
help us with that, with all the numbers and specifics.
Right.
But yeah, it's been a long time since the denomination of origin of tequila was established.
Right. At which point it was a kind of mezcal in the same way that whiskey, right? Like you got scotch, which is a kind of whiskey. But then once the Mexican government said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we want a denomination of origin for mezcal as well," once they did that, you couldn't you can't make an agave spirit in Jalisco and certify it as mezcal. So how could tequila be mezcal now? It's not. It's an agave spirit.
Yeah, so I think what they really want to say it's all tequila and all mezcal are agave spirits, right? That will be the
Now that's the
accurate.
new thing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that being said, we're gonna talk tequila right away, right?
Yes, we are. So
Yeah.
the order in which we're drinking tonight, I think I just pulled David up. Yes, the order in which we're drinking tonight is at the beginning of the chat. You'll see 818 tequilas, then we're going to El Rey Zapoteco, then the two Sombras, then Banhez, then there you are, David, and then Campante, then Aprendiz, Esfuerzo, Amaras, and La Luna. So
Wow.
I know, and you should pour them all into your little cups right now so that you've got everything ready to go. Um, but we're starting with 818 tequila and David. Do I say David Jan Gonzalez or just David Jan?
Most people call me Dave. Even before I was
I
born.
love that.
Why should we change it now?
I love it. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. So, David, can you tell us about how you make your tequila. I find it fascinating. I find it so okay. Hang on, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Chava
where
and
you going?
I,
It's going too fast. Yeah. Like, come on, Lou.
yeah,
Get back a little bit. Get your ideas together.
yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at once. So, Chava and I were down there visiting you a few weeks ago, and
Yes.
I don't know much at all about tequila. Right, I'm not being modest. I really don't know much at all about tequila.
Mhm.
But I had assumed that it was really, really rare to see tequila where you're fermenting with the bagasso, with the agave fibers in the fermenter.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's fairly common. I mean, one of
Really?
the most successful, famous mainstream brands, which is Siete Leguas, adds bagazo to their fermento. So
Oh, really?
it's fairly common.
Because like I think every time I thought about that, I tend to, when you talk with mezcaleros, they usually have stories of how tequileros sort of mock them a little bit because how inefficient the processes are. Like they'll be
Oh,
like, "Oh, you're doing this
here we
thing that
go.
it's."
Here we
Yeah,
go
right.
again with
Yeah.
the us against them thing. I mean,
No,
we're
no, no,
all
not at all.
Agave
Not at
Spirits
all.
brothers.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is, like sometimes it's there's some practices in the mezcal context that are, I think, understood not to be that to be very complex when you're trying to get a certain efficiency. And I always thought that one of those practices was adding the bagasso into the fermentation vat, right? It is not the way to get the highest yield. You get a lot of flavor, but you don't get the highest yield. So that's, I think, why Lou and I always thought, like, maybe it's an uncommon thing for it to happen. And it's amazing that you're telling us that it's absolutely not the case.
Well, you see, there's a difference between mimicking and copying.
Mm,
Uh, after at the end, all you should do, it should be there for a reason. If there's not a specific reason, talking about a planned outcome of what you're expecting to your spirit to be, to taste, feel, smell like, then why do it? If you don't
mm,
really have control over what you're doing, then it kind of loses the honest purpose.
mm,
But in this case, I think we discuss one of the many complex situations happening in the tequila industry because we have operations of so many different sizes, and as you guys witnessed,
mm,
the implementation of technology and then applying it or helping with more modern or a more modern let's say scientific or industrial, or I don't like to use industrial, but more technological help, which is the case in this distillery that you're seeing right here.
mm.
Because 1607, it's been open for tequila production only for like 5 or 6 months, which is where 818 is produced. And this is the only place where, I mean, it's the only brand that it's produced at this distillery right now.
Mm.
And it's a combination, like you guys saw, combination of old school-ish approach with modern technology. So we have stone ovens, we have autoclaves that we use as ovens, we have a special shredder just before the Taona. We have Taona wheels, like automatic Taona wheels.
Can I just? I'm just gonna. I'm gonna interrupt you because I have a microphone that's loud. So David, I gotta say that's something else that impressed me was I've never eaten the cooked agave that comes out of an
Mm,
autoclave. Right?
Mhm.
I've had it out of Ornos, out of the underground ovens, of course, and I've even had it out of the brick ovens. And you had a brick oven there, but what you were cooking in when we were there was out of that autoclave, that giant steel, sort of like a pressure cooker.
20
And
tons.
I'm sorry,
20 tons.
20
20
tons.
tons.
Wow.
20 tons
Um,
capacity.
and it was delicious. The cooked agave that came out of it was delicious, which, and I shouldn't be shocked, I guess, but it surprised me. It's sort of what you're saying, I think, right? Like, I don't think industrial is a bad word. But I think of that as an industrial process, and I just assumed that what came out of it wouldn't be as good as what I've tasted out of an Orno, and it was. It was delicious.
Well, you said delicious, so I may ask you to go a little deeper. It's okay. Why delicious? Describe delicious. So it's because of the flavor, how flavorful, juicy, sweet. I mean,
Yeah, it had like that
easier
sweet
to kind of put-
potato-ness. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So that's exactly the kind of descriptions that are helpful in order to understand why the process may be similar but not identical, because how you're doing things defines the outcome and how it ends up tasting, feeling, look like, because at the end it's all physics and chemistry. It's very simple, but the way they interact with you, well, that's possibly the most important outcome to what all of us in the agave industry are looking for. However, when you try something different, and in this case, the application of more modern technology, I think you can tell our friends at the audience that it's by no means an exaggeration that we can run almost the entire facility in a control room. Did you remember that?
Right.
You used to
Yeah.
and everything, and that shouldn't be seen as bad or demonizing, like, oh, no, it's just having absolute control over the parametrics of your every stage of our operation, which in turn makes it easier to control the outcome of every stage of production. In the case of fermentation, what can you control? Well, you can control the time. You can control the amount of sugars of your mosto, or the level of dilution, the level of solids being there, the way the yeast is going to interact with the sugars in order to be transformed into alcohol, the way fiber is going to interact or facilitate or alter the way this process is going to take place, how it's going to play a role in temperature control, and all these things demand that you have knowledge about biochemistry, chemistry, physics,
hydrolysis. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so then you can go back into your cooking process and determine, okay, what's the best level of bricks that we need in order to keep it, methanol control and so on, because there's things that cannot happen if you don't have those elements being formed previously. So that's probably where getting geeky, it's very important. And sometimes people in the kind of a more romantic or like more idealistic scenarios don't like modern operations, because let the tradition run its course. And what if it's just a habit? And, there's good and bad habits. And I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying that the moment you gain more control over what you do, it's because you have more knowledge and how to use that knowledge in the favor of your operation, that at the end it's going to just boil down to, a better liquid in your bottle, and better because that's what you intended to have in the first place. So possibly that's the answer, which is a very long answer. But every single distillery, depending on size, depending on the process or each process they run, is going to have a different outcome. And we should be very aware of that.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah. But I do want to make a fine point of that. And I believe that is fascinating, because I think what you are communicating is that you have more capacities to design, right? Like every intention you have ways of materializing that decision and transform that into texture, into flavor, into color, and you're able to trace all those decisions to tweak this exactly the way you want. And I believe that, as we're saying, like, industrial gives you that capacity. It's not a dirty word. It's a way of being able to control these parameters and get to something that is really close to your imagination. And I think that.
And I don't think it can be ignored. A way that you satisfy demand for a spirit that is literally 50 times greater than mezcal. And when you start, like, it's
greater in volume, you mean?
In volume, yeah.
Yes,
how do you service a worldwide market?
Yes,
and on top of that, and it's something strongly related to a subject that we are very fond of, which is sustainability. And sustainable efforts demand this level of control, because the more you know about the characteristics, the parameters that involve all of your waste, liquid, solid, and how can they be put to use after they have served their main purpose, which is to to make or elaborate mezcal or tequila or any other agave spirit. It's what brings a much needed extra value into all the research, all this. Listen, I was going to say something that I kind of called out, but now I think I'm going to bring it back.
Do it. Go ahead. Do it.
Which is in some instances, you get the privilege of simulating scenarios digitally, right? Well, with spirits, with what you can't. You actually need to do those things in order to be able to, okay, the numbers, the parameters were exactly like this, but at the end we deal with physics and we deal with chemistry and we deal with individuals. And that's where style, with preference, we're sensitive or sensible, senses come into play. And I don't know of two people that have exactly the same level of sensitivity to sweetness, acidity, but so something may be too salty for me, for example, maybe too salty for me, and for Lou, maybe no, it needs salt. Who's wrong? Who's right? It's just that we have different physiology.
Different palates. Yep.
And with spirits, with wine, with things that are going to be evaluated through our senses, that's very important. So there's no easy way out. And the only way to experiment is to conduct them in a more controlled environment than other. And this is the case of this distillery that we're working on, 818. We get much, much more quality in the data. I'm sorry if it sounds like disgusting to all the traditional.
Well,
it's exactly what allows the industry to grow.
Well,
actually, I'm gonna, yes, but I'm also gonna say, like, we have to go. We have to go, David. And so I think we should let people, like we didn't say, just drink your 818. Drink these. Yeah. People don't wait for us to say sip. Just start sipping. In fact, you can just go through everything, and we'll catch up to you. Yeah. Just drinking. So, David, thank you very much for the time. And I am going to say, like, while we're talking, because you said sustainability, just so everybody's aware, Chava and I, besides having this podcast, Agave Road Trip, we also. We have a not-for-profit, Sacred, Saving Agave for Culture, Recreation, Education, Development, and 818 is a sponsor of Sacred, and we're doing this project together. Where we're taking the waste that you're talking about, right? The bagasso that's right behind you there, and then the vinasses, which is, in essence, for every, stop me if I'm wrong, David, for every liter of potable spirits, there's 10 liters of this liquid in the still that is oxygen starved. And if you just pour it into a river, it's going to kill fish, it's going to kill marine life, plants. And so what we're among other things, yes. So what we're doing is we are taking the bagasso and the vinasses, those two things, and then we're not doing them. We are finding people who make adobe bricks and having them make adobe bricks out of those two ingredients, as well as things like soil, clay, and paper. And then we're using those bricks. Chava and I spent some time 2 weeks ago traveling around Michoacan and Jalisco, visiting small families in rural communities who are doing traditional stuff, protecting their cultural heritage. And so we've been looking for projects, and we just got the green light today. And but we just got the green light today on the first test run project. And so we'll be announcing that in a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
so thank you.
We're all are. And listen, just one final message to our audience. Yeah. And I know, I don't know how many, but some people out there still see 818 as a joke because of who the owner is and everything. No, guys, grow up. Yeah. Be more open. This is an entirely different operation that most celebrity things that are out there in the spirits world. This is for real, and the involvement, it's, I guess, if you knew who's behind all the team that it's included in 818, just between the CEO, the president, and myself, we have almost 100 years experience combined. I'm not saying that's good, but this is something being improvised. No. These guys have already seen. So just try it and then judge it because of what you already know. And what you're going to taste, and then we can discuss whatever's going on.
And David, these the bottles, I'm told by Teresa, came from the new distillery. What's the name of the new distillery? Do you know that offhand?
1607.
1607.
That is okay.
1607. Yeah.
Okay. Terrific.
In Matitan, Jalisco. So just to be more precise, it's in the valley of Amatitan, right between Herradura and Tequila. Well.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Okay, David, thank you so much. I'm going to throw you back to the attendees, and we will see you very soon.
Okay,
David. Chido. Nos vemos,
Gracias.
Jacinto.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, up next, where is Josh?
Up next.
So what is up next?
Up next is El Rey Zapoteco, Señorito Lu.
Okay,
Let me
so
change my background.
Okay, promote to panelist. Here we go. So we just talked about tequila, right? Which was the
That is
first,
correct.
right? Which is the first agave spirit to reach worldwide acclaim. Back at the
Worldwide
1890
acclaim. Wow.
worldwide, back at the 1893 World's Fairs. Look at us, we're both just rushing to get our backgrounds.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that,
Done.
nice. Is
Right.
mine right?
Synchronized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And Josh, what happened to your light? Your light went away.
He's getting mysterious,
Let's see,
Lou.
I can
It's
make, I can
fine.
maybe make it. I can maybe make it better. Let's see here. It's getting dark here. I'm in Mexico, so it's getting a little dark here.
It's all good. Don't worry about it, Josh. Okay, so Josh, you are the importer for El Rey Zapoteco Mezcal. And El Rey Zapoteco Mezcal is a brand that was started in 1960. So we were just talking about, right, tequila and how that was the first agave spirit to have a denomination of origin and to reach worldwide acclaim. And then in 1994, the Mexican government started the process of obtaining the denomination of origin for mezcal. And at that point, I think it was actually, I think it went into effect in 1997. And so at that point, what changed for El Rey Zapoteco?
Oh, wow. That's intense. That is intense.
Got that?
Question. Love it.
I'm an intense guy, Chava.
Yeah. Like,
Well, gosh, at that particular point in time, why don't we do this? I can give you a very quick timeline of how the business changed from 1960 to now. If that works, because there's a lot to unpack between 1960 and, what did you say, 1994?
yeah, 1994 is
Yeah.
where the denomination of origin started, taking place, getting
And then
designed,
97
like,
it was
implemented.
ratified. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So El Rey Zapoteco, it's been around. It was founded in 1960 by a person whose name was Don Serafin. He started. It was back in the day. What is now known as Santiago Matatlan was known as La Higuera. It was pretty remote relative to Oaxaca City, right? In fact, curious little factoid I did not know. Apparently, all the land out there was essentially owned by one person.
Oh, wow.
And so Don Serafin, his family, they traditionally were magalleros. And against his father's wishes, he went out on his own to become a mezcalero. I think his father just didn't think there'd be enough of kind of like solid source of income for him. But he went against his father's wishes, had to purchase a little lot, where today, if you go to the distillery, right? I don't know if you guys have been to Santiago Matatlan. You have.
I used to live there. Well, I was living in Mitla because nobody will rent a house to me in Matatlan. But I spent a lot of time in Matatlan.
Was that your hair, Chava? It was your hair?
There was a number of things that made me look suspicious in the area. So yeah, nobody will rent me a house there. But yeah, like there's a beautiful blue house where you can get the best Oaxacan food ever there. I don't know if you've been there, but if you haven't, you have to try it.
Good stuff. Yeah, so if you go today to their palenque, they have a little tasting room or sales room. That's actually where the original distillery was. And he started with, what did he start with? He started with the horse that he had from his field work. He had one cement Tahona and one copper still and one clay still. So that's point number one. I think Lou is El Rey Zapoteco now pretty much exclusively distills with copper, but he did start out with clay. He moved to copper for the simple reason that clay is fragile; it breaks easily. So that's why he made that decision. He also had purchased, as part of that blanket, the lot where El Rey Zapoteco is one of the few brands they own their own agave fields. In fact, they actually sell to several other brands their agaves because they're not operating at capacity in terms of utilizing all the agaves that are grown in their fields. So he paid that off over time. Okay. In 1970, he married Doña Juana, who is today she survived Don Serafin, who passed away in 2004. But she's one of the women in mezcal, and one of the famous women in mezcal. She's if you know people in Oaxaca, they know the name Doña Juana. So she had when he passed away in 2004, I believe. She was left with their sons and the business, and they had to figure out how to make it happen. So they they basically divvied duties up, and everyone handled things the way they could. I would be remiss not to mention. So like in the I think in the 70s, a Chilean quarry solid slab was purchased. They were using a cement one. So if you can imagine, like as small businesses go, over time they're able to save up a little bit and improve things little by little, right? That's an example of that. In the 80s, I think their still capacity was at 350 liters. And the second lot was purchased. In the 90s, it moved up to 450 liters for each batch.
Which is
And the first,
it's 450 liters per batch.
Per batch, like for the still capacity.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their first stainless steel tank was used. So they, El Rey Zapoteco has a long history, since their foundation of resting or aging really, mezcals in oak barrels. So they were aged up until then in glass and in oak barrels. So a lot of reposados and añejos they made. But they were able to purchase a stainless steel tank. Now, fast forward a decade, plastic tanks became more common, and I guess plastic tanks, I've been told, are half the price of these stainless steel tanks, which allowed them to ramp up a little bit in terms of being able to store more product. At this point, too, let me see here. Questions? Any questions before I?
Well, can I point something out, Lou?
Sure.
I'm always fascinated about, Mazatlan in a way, it's like the larger producer of agave spirits that we know of today, right? It's by volume, and
it's the world capital of mezcal.
Yeah. Okay.
So
something
needless
to say.
Yeah.
So what I find fascinating, and that's something you pointed out, Josh, is that back in the day they were not really a mezcalero town; they were a magueyero town. They were growing magueyes. They were not necessarily processing them. And we'll listen this from Esfuerzo Mezcal, who's Maestros Mezcaleros. Actually, will say that San Dionisio was the mezcalero town, and we'll just get all the agave from Mazatlan. So I think sometimes we forget that. We forget that. I believe that to have a very beautiful spirit, one of the fundamental aspects of it is to have a beautiful agave. And if you have a tradition of at least 100 years growing agaves, you're starting from such a good and fortunate place when you actually get to the spirit. And somehow, that's not a story that I get to listen a lot when we're talking about Mazatlan, right? I think other parts sort of catch our attention when talking about this place.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah,
but I'm also I'm watching the clock, and I think we better talk about the fact that this is a Pachuca.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this Pachuca that everyone's tasting is a Pachuca de Guajolote, or wild turkey. It's distilled with fruits and nuts as well. It is, curiously, so a lot of this Pachuca is rested in oak barrels for 45 days, which kind of takes a little bit of the bite out of it, and gives it a little bit of kind of like a buttery mouth, like a buttery mouth feel. I don't know how to best describe it, but it kind of takes the bite out of it a little bit. It is. Well, that's what you're drinking.
It's delicious, and you're exporting or you're importing into the U.S. now, or I guess you're exporting if you're down in Mexico. And which markets are you available in?
Yeah, product can currently be purchased in Colorado, California, Illinois, New York, Florida, and now just recently Texas.
Beautiful.
Great. Josh.
Okay, Josh, anything else to add before we kick you out?
No, one last thing. I would just say Rey Zapoteco, it's been around a long time. And so this is one of these, it's almost like a relic from the past, but what we're trying to do is find traction for it in the US marketplace, to kind of make sure it has its rightful place in the US market, because it's a historic brand. So
Right on.
Josh, thank you very much. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you for sharing it with us. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome.
take care.
See ya. All right. Actually, it's funny because the first time I saw the Rey Zapoteco was in a very traditional dance in Oaxaca, and I even thought that it was that it was dubious. I was so young too.
What do you
So
mean dubious?
Well, you're in a place that it's dubious itself, and I don't know. It was a very interesting OG experience, that one that I had with the first time I saw Rey Zapoteco. So I'm really happy we got to hear about more. We're in Sombra. Okay, let me get my background changed.
Oh, right.
Lou,
Background
what are you
change.
doing? Come
Background
on.
change. You're supposed to remind me of this. You're not helping me
Yeah.
at all today, Chava.
He's getting older and older by the day, but yeah, I apologize
That's
for holding
Banhez.
you.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, nice match now.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Persia. How are you? Okay, so we started with tequila, right? And then we moved to mezcal with a brand that started in the 1960s. And then, the brand got to see that transition from mezcal not being a denomination of origin to, hey, it is a denomination of origin. The world says, whoa, what's this mezcal thing? I mean, not to the extent that it did with tequila. It's 1.9%. Still small. Still so small. But that's still a huge number, right? And growing every single year.
Fastest growing spirits category.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. And
More
that's
than
just from
soju. More than
that's-
soju, Lou. More than
that's- Anyway, so in essence, we had to find actually, you guys, you and Chava, Persia, had to find a way to produce more mezcal faster, which was the challenge that tequila faced back in the 1800s. So what did you guys do? And I'll leave it to you, Persia, how much you want to involve Chava in this conversation, since he was also involved at Sombra. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you guys do? How did you scale up to make more mezcal? And again, people, start drinking.
Yes. Don't wait for us at all.
Start drinking. I should note though, Sombra is still relatively small. The category is still small, but on fire in terms of growth. But there's a big runway, ahead of it. So I think in terms of scale, like Sombra's been around since 2006. And we were like other mezcal, I guess, importers in terms of working with like smaller palenques and sourcing and blending. And our founder had a lot of ideas about what he wanted to do, all the tweaks to the flavor profile, the tweaks to how the mezcal was stored and how it was produced, and what can we do to be more environmentally friendly and conscious of our employees' health, and all these tweaks and optimizations. And it became too much for any of these small producers to deal with. So the time came to be like, okay, maybe we should have our own palenque or distillery and do things exactly how we want to do that. And so Chava this was before I even started working on the brand. And, I've fallen in love with Sombra, of course, and the category too, and everything to do with sustainability. But you worked on it, Chava.
Yeah, I was there when you guys were having the baby. It was still, it was just still warm. The baby was crying.
The baby was crying. There's the quote of the evening.
Okay, I'm sorry for that one. Oh yeah, and it was absolutely exciting for me because in a similar fashion that what Dave was talking, there was all these questions that nobody had really answered in the mezcal context. And there was all these technologies and optimizations and ways of protecting the flavor, really, because I think that was the biggest concern when this was done, protecting the environment, the people making the mezcal, and the flavor. And doing that in the mezcal context, using direct fire for distillation, using bagasse, using all the bagasso in the fermentation tanks, like respecting every part of the process was so challenging. And that's why I was crying, Lou, because this took a whole year of test runs and making a lot of very ugly stuff at some point. We were okay, we don't want to do this again. This was great. Everybody has some mezcal, check to their houses and make cocktails and not think about this. And we're gonna bury this in the story. But I think that it was an extremely brave step what you guys did, because basically you committed a lot of money and resources.
Was the brave step to hire you to do some of this, Chava? Is that what you meant by brave step?
You know, I don't have gray hair. I still have my hair to start with, so
I got my hair. It's just on my back. We've had this conversation.
Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, they definitely hired or started with an extremely young team that, you know, in other industries, it was almost like a kindergarten working together. You know, I'm pretty sure people walk into the palenque at some point, so like, why do you only have volunteers? Where are your where are your employees? So yeah, like I think it was really interesting, and to see now that you guys have gotten to a point where a lot of these early questions have found a solid answer. For me, it's extremely interesting, and also that the flavor is still there, right? That the some of the design elements that were decided early on have been carried. And I know that you guys should be in all kinds of pressures, because I have the impression you sell very well, and that usually puts you in a very hard like space when it comes to production, to really protect the production. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how do you guys are able to balance that? You know, like sometimes success comes with challenges that sometimes can compromise the production side. How can you? I was not there when that was happening. You know, like sales were still small when.
Yeah,
when I was
and
there.
I think so. Like I mentioned, like we're projected to do like 18,000 cases this year. So there's still, you know, many brands ahead of us in the category, and we have a lot of room to grow. So as I mentioned, the category is still quite small, but you know, I think some of the optimizations that we put in place for Sombra, with, you know, still being respectful to the tradition and craft, are like, for example, like solar panels on the roof of the.
Right on.
Okay. I think the Tahona is a great example too. So in tequila, you often see like the mechanical Tahona because of scale, and you know, for mezcal, you often see like a horse or a donkey like pulling this giant limestone wheel, and you know, there's nothing that does to add to the flavor of your mezcal. Like it's not part of it. It's nothing. So
well, it depends on how much that horse had to drink that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. We won't go there, but essentially the stone is crushing the agave. So how you power that with a horse, a donkey, or essentially like your solar panels on the roof, it should not make a difference. So some of those tweaks of like thinking, okay, what can we do to optimize, make this more efficient or eco-friendly, while still respecting the tradition of mezcal production. I think another great one too, I mean, from the eco standpoint, is just the wood. So we buy certified sustainable firewood. So we get certificates that say every piece of lumber you've received, we've planted so many trees in place. And those are initiatives that like every brand can think of, or every producer can think of for whatever category that they're in, is like, how can we tweak that?
That's awesome.
Another great one too is the enclosed fire, as you mentioned, Chava, for the distillation. So you don't really need a direct flame, but you don't need it to come necessarily from like open fire that's creating all this smoke, using more resources, and you can't really control it like in terms of a recipe. So you'll say like, we want it to be this certain temperature. So we use an enclosed gas system, which is great because it's like less pollutants in the environment, less toxins that employees are breathing when they're working in the distillery. So
less wood, and that's the biggest win. Less wood, it's always a better situation.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you know, you guys are part of the Adobe Brick Club now, which is
there's a club. I'm so excited. There's a club now. I always wanted this to happen, you know.
I actually am excited there's a club. I think it's beautiful that there are going to be so many new structures built from Agave Spirits.
Yep. And that was something too that was implemented when we built the Palenque in 2017. So, you know, the upcycling initiative of the Bagasso and the Vinasa to create the Adobe brick. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. Wow. Okay. Well, and we should say, because you didn't just give us, you were very generous. You were very generous. You didn't just give us your Joven. You also gave us your Reposé.
Yes, I did. I could give like a quick two-minute spiel on them. So our Joven, our Espadín. So this is our first expression since 2006. It's won awards, double gold. The bottle is a new design, so it's really, we're thrilled. It's inspired by the Veladora glass. And our newest expression is our Reposé, as Lou mentioned. And what's unique about this for the Mezcal category is it's aged in Bordeaux wine barrels. So it's our Espadín Joven aged into a Reposado up to 6 months. And it's pretty cool. It started off as just like, let's do some Reposado aging with different barrels from different friends. And when we pulled it out of these Bordeaux wine barrels, of course, we're like, oh yeah, it's a pinkish color, like a rosé wine. So we call it Reposé, but we can't, the CRM won't let you call it Reposé on the label.
Okay.
They can call it Reposado, but
you should talk to Sidam. I think they actually will let you. Sidam will. Never mind. That's politics. We're not getting in those weeds.
No politics,
I'm backing up.
Can
we reverse that? I don't think we can reverse that.
No, we cannot. It's fine, Lou. We can be bits later.
Okay, thanks. Beautiful. Well,
yeah.
Bersa, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to see you in a few days at Bowl of Zole.
Yes. See you on Saturday.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Okay. Next up, where's our friend Alex? We've got the bonnet.
Change your background. Change your background.
Yeah, I will. I'll change my background. First, I got to find Alex.
I know.
Okay, there's Alex. And I'm going to promote him to panelist. God, we are so professional, Chava. It's amazing. We're getting all of this done. Where's Banhez? There's Banhez.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Coordinated perfection.
Okay, and he'll be here any second now. So, that was one model of how to scale up to make more mezcal, right?
Yeah.
But there's another model that's used. Where is Alex? He's not. There's another model that's used by our friends at Banhez. Now, having said that, like Banhez does an ensemble release that is there. Do you think we can't see you, Alex? I don't know where you went.
He's getting here. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
So
he is.
There he is. Okay. So wow, you're right. It is brighter. So while you guys have I'm going to call it a cocktail mezcal, and I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion. I mean, it's literally priced at a way that you can use it affordably in a cocktail, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so can you, even though what we're drinking is a Pachuca expression, a small Pachuca expression from one of the producers from whom you source your mezcal, do you mind talking about how you guys managed to scale up? Hi, Alex. From Banhez.
Yeah, absolutely. So Banhez as a brand is actually owned by the Upadek Cooperative in San Miguel Ajutla. But the cooperative is based in the district of Ajutla. So it actually works within an entire district of Oaxaca. So within that, we when we say we have like your cocktail Mezcal, as you call it, Lou, so thoughtfully.
You don't take that as an insult, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
What it is, it's an ensemble. It's an espadín barril, 90% espadín, 10% barril. And we say it's an ensemble in kind of two ways, right? It's an ensemble of both two agaves, but it's also an ensemble when how we look at we make it. So how mezcal is made has always been a communal spirit, right? People grow the agave, people harvest them, people. Then you have not only your maestro maker, you have your palenqueros, then you have to bottle it. And so what the co-op has taken is looked at each one of those components and has members within the cooperative that actually do those. So a membership within our cooperative could be an individual, a maestro who has his percentage stake each year making mezcal, but it also could be a family who grows agave and have for generations. And their cooperative stake is how much agave they grow and we harvest each year, but also planting and replanting agave. So what we really do is we take and we have 36 to actually 40 at the current moment members within our cooperative.
50? No way. You have
40.
40 individuals in a mezcal cooperative.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's really great.
Yeah, and that's actually how we scaled. So
wow.
When we started, we only had maybe like 18, 20. And to meet demand, rather than trying to put the pressure on these individual maestros to produce more, to harvest more, to blow up their palenques, to adopt these giant stills, what we did is we looked to their neighbors, we looked to their family and their friends, and we started adding them into the cooperative. Part of that is the cooperative actually owns its own bottling plant. So that is one member. So that cooperative membership for the bottling plant, it pays for over 40 people to work in the bottling plant, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, lunch break, healthcare, that kind of thing. But it also allows us to add these members without shrinking our cooperative, our other current members' percentage stake. It allows us to take from kind of the bottling plant lump sum and grow and stabilize each year as the demand grows. And how we wanted to do that is we wanted to make sure that we offer upward mobility to each member. So along with making the ensemble, which every member works towards, what you guys have in your bottle is something else that we did to kind of offer scalability, which is everybody wants this exploratory, rare, quote unquote, mezcal, but it's not rare, right? What it is that there's individuals that make these selections based on what they have in that year, what they're making for their community. And because we have so many members, we actually have 25 of those members who produce. We can create rotational single expressions where if a producer wants to make 200 liters of Pachuca, that's fine. Rather than pushing them to make more, we'll go to the next producer and get his 400 liters of
That's
Pachuca.
amazing. That's so freaking amazing. That's like, I didn't even know that this was part of the model, but I'm loving it so much. Like this part, I think it's so crazy genius. I mean, it's not only, keep going, Alex, sorry.
Yeah, so each of our members use the Refrescador, still outfitted with a Refrescadora, which is really common in Ajutla. When we look to our growers, what we do instead of paying, go ahead, Lou. You're muted, Lou.
You're muted, Lou. As you should always be. This thing that Eves.
I was typing an answer to a question online. This is not what I was going to say, but then I'll say what I was going to say. Okay, Alex. So if anybody has the question as to what is the difference between mezcal, mezcal artisanal, and mezcal ancestral, it's actually really complex and easier to answer in writing. There's a spreadsheet. If you go to the Q&A, there's a link to the spreadsheet that we made that explains the difference in writing. Even brands get it wrong. I just got a text from a message from brands this morning that said that you had to have bagasso in ancestral fermentation, and you don't. Anyway, what I was going to say, Alex, is you said Refrescador as though everybody listening knows what a Refrescador is. I was going to slow you down on that. I'm a tope. I'm a human tope, and a tope is a speed bump. So what is a Refrescador?
Yeah. So a Refrescador is an addition to a still that has now kind of become almost its own unique style of distillation. And you tend to find it clustered in regions within Oaxaca or outside of that state. And if you find it in one region, it tends that lots of people use it. So for us, a Refrescadora, as we call it, is actually a giant soup pot that we put on the outside of the copper still, and we fill it with cold water. And then along with that, inside the still, there's a copper plate. So what this causes is what we call the happy hour distillation, because it's two distillations over 1 8-hour pass. And I think the Pachuca is a really great example of that, because traditionally Pachucas, you would distill your mezcal from your fermented agave, you'd clean everything out, and then you would hang what you want to include flavor-wise over that mezcal or macerated in there. And a hutla, my theory, and when I talked to the guys, is they were kind of just like, screw that, we're not going to clean that shit out. We're going to figure out a way to do it all at once.
Hey.
No swearing.
Swear jar. Swear jar.
All right, I'll donate to Sacred.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But to clean that gunk out, and what resulted is that you get a singular pass that leaves a mezcal that's way higher in ABV, but it also leaves a little bit less. As it passes through the still, you get something that's tends to be a little bit lighter and brighter in flavor. It carries a little bit less of those kind of like hydroxylized coils from smoke, and a little bit less of the kind of like sugar forward agave. So you get something that's a little more light, a little bit more effervescent in agave flavors. And our Pachuca is one such thing where rather than doing 2 distillations, they actually do fermented espadín in the still and then load it with tropical fruits, and then put
wait. In the fermentation tank, do they put the tropical fruits? Yes. No. Yes.
No. In the still, in the bell of the still.
Okay. I was
so if you're loading your still, you go fermented espadín, fruits, and then you place your turkey breast on top, and then you seal it all in and do your normal single pass distillation. And so this Pachuca is really distinct to a hutla, which is kind of what Banhez is all about, is exploring and representing the beautiful people in mezcal that comes out of this district, because we cross all the different little towns and different maestros we try to work with.
Lovely.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to kick you off now, Alex, because we got to...
Yeah,
we got to keep on time.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the samples. Very special getting your Pachuca. I'll see you soon, buddy.
Well, pleasure. See you, Alex.
Okay, next up, we move from a hutla to a hutla.
A hutla to a hutla.
That's
Great. Campante. Let's do that. Change
Okay,
the screen.
Where'd you got the Campante? Okay. Everything is blocking. I've got so many screens open, Chava. How do you do this? Okay.
Oh no, man. You're the technological kid. I'm just here to talk and drink. That's it. Yeah.
Look good. You're here for look good. Okay. We got Shirley coming up, and now I'll change my background. So what we're going to talk about with Shirley is, again, hi Shirley.
Hey there.
What,
you are
is she
muted, Shirley.
You're muted.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay, so the idea of the single agave expression is like a relatively new idea, right? Did we talk about that? I was so busy answering a question. Did we talk about that with?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't talked about that yet.
Okay, so yeah, that's a relatively new invention, and by relatively new, I think we're talking about what, like maybe the 80s, 90s.
I'll say, well, it depends who you ask, but let's say that.
I'm asking you, Chava.
Well, I'll say.
Or I'll ask Shirley. Shirley, do you have a better answer than Chava?
Let's say that did not happen in the 1800s.
No, it's hard to have a better answer than him.
Oh, look at you. You're sucking up to the wrong host. Anyway, so that's okay. But before that, really what you would find are these ensembles or field blends, where it's, whatever agave is mature, we're going to throw it into the oven, we're going to cook it, we're going to just ferment it and distill it all together as one thing, right? And so you guys, much as Banhez does, you hearken back to that with your ensemble, Campante?
Campante, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so can you tell us why you chose an ensemble as your release?
Yeah, of course. So what everyone will be trying is an ensemble of espadín and baril. And the reason we did that is because for us, the flavor was the most important thing to us, but the drinkability was also extremely important. So we wanted a mezcal that was super smooth, very drinkable, very easy on the palate, but still had the flavors so that you didn't lose it completely, and you still had a mezcal. So when creating Campante,
we've been listening to so many people talking about perfecting the process, really looking at how they can do that from a sustainability side, from an efficiency side, making sure that they're really producing something great, but also efficient, a great business model, everything like that. We really took a number of these things into account, but at the end of the day, the most important thing to us was flavor. How do we make sure that we are getting a really great mezcal that you can drink? So, espadín, you guys, I'm sure know a lot about espadín. It's a cultivated agave. It's used a lot in mezcal, but Barril has such an amazing flavor, and it's wild, and it really brought that taste profile in that we wanted, because Campante really should be a mezcal that you can put in the center of the table with friends, family, whoever, and everyone find a way to drink it. It had to be a versatile spirit for us, and it had to be perfectly balanced. And those two coming together as agaves was really important. But then the assemblée always also goes in to how it's made. So we roast our agaves together, but we actually then separate, and we go through the process there separately, and then we bring them together again at the end, which is called a cold assemblée. And the reason for doing that is that we really wanted to make sure that the flavor profiles of the two were consistent and came together for a perfect blend.
That is super great. Well, sorry. No, continue.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, because that's fascinating that you got to that conclusion, because normally when we talk about ensembles, I think a lot of the people we talk to, they go through great lengths about doing the ensemble from the very beginning, like harvesting at the same time, doing the cook at the same time, fermenting both species at the same time, and the whole process goes long. And it's not as common that someone voluntarily decides to go cold blend. And it's interesting that was a very calculated decision on your side, correct? And because you tried both ways, right?
Yeah, we've tried it many different ways. And what was really important to us at the end of the day was having a consistent flavor at the end. Something that we knew our audience, our customers would drink, but that we were still staying true to the heritage, the craftsmanship, to how it's being made. That is still very, very important to us. And everything is produced at the same time. So it's not a case where you get this with a number of brands where something might have been made months, years ago. Everything is made at the same time. It's just we say perfected our process to be able to get what we really want, but staying true to the heritage, staying true to being an artisanal mezcal through and through. But we've just made some changes along the way, and it's that which we feel, makes Campante.
Do we have one more minute, Lou, or we're pressed on time?
No, we're very pressed on time.
Okay,
but I do want to ask the very pertinent question. Like, you're new to the market, right? So are you in every market now? You're not in every market.
Not every market. So we're in New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Florida, California, and then we're quickly coming into a number of other states in due course. We're also available in Mexico and a few other places. But yeah, it's fast growth for us. It's been an extraordinary few months. I cannot tell you, it's really blown me away. And the entire team. You sit down and you put the bottle in front of, very distinguished people in the industry, and you're like, oh, how's this gonna go? Your heart is beating. You're like, oh, how's it gonna go? And 10 out of 10, every time people are like, oh, this is good. This is drinkable. And I've seen it, I was sitting at the bar the other day at Employees Only in New York, and they were letting customers taste it without knowing that the brand was there, nothing like that. Just saying, try this, tell me what you think. Every single person was like, oh, can I have that in my margarita? Can I have that in my cocktail? And it was just so nice to hear, to the point where people are like, you know what? Let's leave the cocktail. Let's just have it neat. Let's just have it on the rocks. And that for me it's really lovely to hear. And so it's been an amazing few months, and I hope everyone who's trying it right now is enjoying it.
Yeah, we've got actually two comments. One was just woohoo, thanks from Rhode Island. I guess Rhode Island has been thirsty for a while. And then the other, that's from Candace, who owes me some lavender. And then Jeff Roscoe is asking if the very specific flavor that he hasn't had before, that he is loving in this, if that's the Barril. And it's funny. I would say maybe and maybe not, and it might just, I think it's so hard to decide where a flavor comes from in these spirits.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, and
It is
Gabriella
hard.
loved it. Everybody's loving you. They're loving
I'm such a
you.
fan. I love this.
Right
Send me
on.
fan mail.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to see where the taste comes from, where the different flavors come from. When you are making an artisanal mezcal, there are so many moments, where it can pick these flavors up. But I'm just happy that we have a mezcal that people are really enjoying. And after, like when you put so much love and hard work into something like this, and it's nice to see the market take to it. So
Right on. And Michelle in Texas says it's delicious and she wants it there. And Margie Mac says that it's great with a bit of dark chocolate. Look at that. They're loving you. They are eating you up. And the dark chocolate.
I do all the time where, you do a tasting and you put out some dark chocolate and everyone's like, oh, is this our dessert? I'm like, try it with the mezcal.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, if you do that, it needs to be Sleepwalk or Larifa chocolate. We'll talk about that later, Shirley.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
See you soon.
Nos vemos. Adiosito.
Okay, next up.
So, change
who's
screen.
next up?
Change
Oh,
screen.
next we got
Change
Nick.
screen.
Next, we got Nick. Where's our man Nick? There's our man Nick. Promote to panelist. Man, it's so hard. Like, I wish there was some way to automate this, like the clapper.
To pre-calculate this,
Yeah.
or like pre-program it. Yeah, it'll be nice. We're
How did I
going
do it
to
first? I got
Aprendiz.
Nick up here and I got my background changed before you. You are so slow.
Oh, come on. I got distracted. You were making all these noises. Hey, Nick,
Whatever.
how you doing?
Hey, Chava, nice to meet you.
Nice to
I've
meet you
known
too.
Lou much longer, and it's good to be on screen with both of you this time.
Yeah,
Right back
no,
at you, Nick.
it's cool to see you, man. So, what is our question to Nick, Lou? I wrote
Yeah,
them. I
so-
can't remember them.
Oh, I can remember. Wait, you should have notes. Oh, man.
Hey, I was working today. Whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't. Hey, Nick. So you also have an ensemble, right? So we just talked to Shirley about her ensemble that's Espadín and Barril. And your ensemble, and if I'm putting you on the spot, I apologize. But your ensemble at Aprendiz, did I say that right?
That's correct. Aprendiz.
Okay. Aprendiz is it's a blend of Espadín and Tepestate, and it's made in San Juan del Rio. And my question to you, so the Espadín, I'm guessing, is farmed, yes?
It's both. So
Both.
It's actually semi-wild, correct? Yeah.
Oh, that's like Chava is wild and I'm semi-wild, so that's the difference.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm definitely more farmed than you, Lou, but sure.
That's really interesting. I didn't realize that there was. Well, you saying semi-wild, so you've planted the Espadín in a wild environment that's not just row after row after row.
Correct. It's a combination of both farmed and wild Espadín.
Got semi-wild Espadín.
Correct.
Got it. But then the Tepestate. So I always when I talk about Tepestate.
Tepestate in San Luis del Rio, please, Lou.
Okay, perfect. In that particular community. So, one of the things that I say is that you'll hear people say it takes up to 40 years to reach maturity. And I don't know that I believe that. I don't believe somebody actually watched that little seedling grow for 40 years. But, you'll hear numbers 20, 30, 40 years to reach maturity. And it's hard for me to believe that everybody's farming that. So my question to you is, where are you getting it?
So the Tepestate used in the ensemble that you're having today, it's a 70-30 blend. So 30% Tepestate is 100% wild.
That's
Wow.
a lot. It's
Yeah,
100% wild.
Tepestate.
So how do you ensure that you're gonna look? I don't know the volumes that you're doing, the lot sizes. How do you ensure that you're going to have enough? What did we say, Tepestate in this community?
Tepestate, yeah.
Yeah. How do you ensure that you have enough?
Well, that's just being sensitive to the scalability. So the batch that you're having today is 840 bottles. We only sell this in California. You will only be able to sell it as it's produced. And it's the tradition and the knowledge of Isaias and his family who own the land.
I'm sorry, can you say his name again?
It's Isaias Martinez.
So it's like Isaiah
It's like Isaias, but it's
Okay, gotcha.
Isaias. You pronounce
Isaias.
both eyes.
Gotcha.
they're so knowledgeable of how much is available and the way that they regulate the harvesting based on leaving mother plants, because it's all done from seed. It's all done naturally. That's just how much he'll be able to make. And because this is an ensemble, it's stretched over more batches. He doesn't make exclusively a Tepestate expression. And the same thing with Tobala as well, the 3 endemic species to San Juan del Rio. And there is no guarantee, but the tradition of their families for generations ensure them, or at least give them the knowledge to know we can't harvest this much until it's ready, or we're not going to make a batch until it is.
Huh.
Yeah,
Cool.
and you know something, Lou, and I was thinking about this because we've been talking so much about ensembles. I think that we talk about sustainability. I think ensembles are such a powerful tool to ensure that you're not just abusing one species of agave, because you're able to have access to these beautiful flavors. Like, I don't know if everybody's familiar with Tepestate here because it's a 101, but Tepestate is definitely one of the, I will say, louder, more extrovert agaves, right? It has like such a powerful flavor profile, but it takes a long time to grow. So a lot of times I think that it's so nice that you make an ensemble and you sort of get a clue and access to these flavors that Tepestate has to offer without having to through the crazy expense and the crazy abuse that it will take to do a 100% Tepestate expression and just like try to release that to the world. So like, I don't know, like I think that's also like very smart from the producers, and I'm sure that part of when you started working with them, that is something that I had very clear from the beginning, or maybe
You nailed it on the head. I feel the exact same way. Aprendiz means apprentice. So this is our second expression from Aprendiz. We have the 100% Espadin that we launched with. This is a way of extending your journey into mezcal as an apprentice to becoming master. And the price point is there. Like you said, it doesn't abuse the plant as much because you're able to stretch it out over multiple batches. And also too, it's a, like we discussed earlier, it's a more natural way of making mezcal. When something is ripe, then you make it. You don't have to necessarily time everything to work out perfectly. And if it's not available, we know that Isaias also purchases Tepestate from his neighboring farms, or from his neighboring land. So
And
he owns his land, but you know, it's shared knowledge. It's a shared plant.
And he's got to be really mindful of making sure that that it doesn't disappear, right? So he's got to be replanting it.
It's all done naturally. It's all done through a traditional method of leaving mother plants and leaving the quiotes to be able to spread the seed naturally.
It's Maya Well's plan.
Yeah.
The original plan,
or,
yeah.
As I like to say, just the tip. So
well,
the 30%,
in that case, it's not just the tip, Nick. It's letting it flower, it's letting the whole process go through. Yeah. So
nice.
That's fascinating.
We've got Michelle. Hey, Michelle. We got Michelle in Oregon saying that she loves it, and she's always loved Tepestate, and it is indeed an extrovert.
It is.
And John says it's a lot more forward and stronger. I don't know if he's talking about Chava or he's talking about Nick in terms of being more forward, but I'm with you there. Yeah.
I also have some photos of some actual plants. If I could share my screen real quick.
Oh,
do we have the time, Lou? Yeah.
I mean, you got 30 seconds.
Well, I think there's always an excuse to watch a Tepestate. I always say that if Edgar Allan Poe had ever designed an agave, it will have been a Tepestate, right? You find a Tepestate in the middle of the night, and it's so beautiful but scary at the same time. Yeah. So yeah, I want to say it.
It's not letting me share my screen here.
Oh. Sorry. Okay.
Give the permissions, Lou. He's always trying to control everything.
Panelists. Okay, you should be able to now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that's a beauty. That's such a beauty.
You can see that it's a semi-arid land. These maguey grow at 4,000 to 5,000 feet. It's up in the highlands, San Juan del Rio, and so you can really see that, you know, these just stand out. It's not a very lush area.
No.
Oh, beautiful.
That's beautiful. And if you, oh man, that's just gorgeous.
And you can just see the richness in the green there. It's really, it's not as azul. It's much greener of an agave, and then there's its full bloom right there.
On 4th of July where the fireworks go up and everyone does the ooh and the ah. That's the comments that we're getting right now in the chat.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
The ooh.
it does look like a firework when it goes off, and one of the characteristics of just how wide these leaves are, and how leathery it is. It's a really resilient plant. Obviously, it takes quite a long time to get there.
I love
Right
it. You should
on.
make a calendar, man, of this. Yeah, like the sexy tepistates.
Yeah, instead of the
just
firefighters, it's them again.
yeah. Just a humble idea there.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Nick, it has been lovely seeing you. I look
Oh,
forward
wait.
to seeing you again
Thank you.
soon. You're not going to be in New York this weekend, are you?
I'm not, unfortunately, but one of these days we'll align. It'll probably be Chicago before it's New York.
Oh, there you go. Well, then I look forward to seeing you here and sharing an Italian. Well, you can have the Italian beef. I'll have the fries.
Okay, sounds good. I don't
Awesome.
eat meat.
Oh,
Okay,
he doesn't
you
eat.
kick him out.
I
Yeah.
guess he doesn't eat meat either. I don't either. We can just go have fries together. Okay, next, we are going to be so late. We were supposed to finish in 15 minutes. We got
Oh,
three
wow.
more brands.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, it's not terrible.
Okay.
We've done worse things.
Okay, you heard him say that, people. If you're angry, that's the guy you're yelling at, not
Oh,
me,
man.
right?
Okay.
Okay, so-
go. Do your thing.
Okay, I know,
Your thing.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so now we got to pull up. We don't have to. We get to pull up David. David from Esfuerzo.
Oh yeah. Let me see. I'm changing my background. Esfuerzo.
David, how are you?
I'm
Hey
so
there,
good. How are
David.
you all doing? So good to
All
see
right,
both
all
of you.
good.
Right back at you. So okay, so we've now had, is it 3 ensembles? No, just 2 ensembles. Yeah, we had 2 ensembles, but we've talked about 3 ensembles. That's why I got confused because of the Banhez Pachuca. But what you've got, and we've had Espadines, and we've had that Blue Weber thing called Tequila. So you have brought us 2 samples of what we were saying earlier is like the more modern idea, 2 different mezcals. These are certified, yes? Yeah.
Correct.
2 mezcals made from individual agaves. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to talk specifically about the agaves that you guys are drinking right now? It's Tobala and Tepestate.
Right, so we just saw the Tepestate.
Yeah, we
Fancy
learned all about
stuff.
that. But Tobala, if we just want to get a little bit about why these might taste different,
Mhm.
Tobala is a smaller agave.
Yeah.
Takes a while to reach maturity. It can't really compete for resources. So
Is this wild Tobala or is it farm Tobala?
this is wild Tobala. Yeah, these 2 are Silvestre. Yeah, Expedition that we do cultivated. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So it is indeed wild. And yeah, it takes a while to reach maturity, and it's a smaller plant. So I love to think that like this, of all the agave plants that are used to make mezcal, really does take on the properties of the place that it's growing in, because you get the tiny piña, you get the tiny heart, and you get a lot of powerful flavor there. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying specifically the Tobala versus the Tepestate.
I think so. Yeah. Even though the Tepestate, yeah, a lot of, you said this earlier too, Lou, a lot of people will be like, hey, this is 35 years.
Right.
Again, some folks are able to certify it, but for the most part, we don't. You trust the folks growing it. You trust the people that are processing it, and they have a good knowledge of what's going on. But at the same time, yeah, we have no idea. We really don't. I feel like Tobala is kind of in the middle of that, though, because yeah, no one's claiming that Tobala is in the ground for 30 years. But most folks that are there, growing, working, participating in the mezcal community, see the Tobalas, and they see that they're in the ground for a very long time. So yeah, I like to think that this, and this is the one that whenever people try, we only have 3 varieties. Whenever people try the expressions that Margarito Garcia Cruz and his son Artemio Garcia Cruz produce,
Temo.
this tends to be, yeah, Temo.
We love him. Yeah.
Oh, I love Temo with all my heart. I was on the phone with him a little earlier today too. But this tends to be, the Tobala specifically, people's favorite expression. And I get a lot of different things when I try it, but I hope everybody is having a chance to actually taste it right now too. But yeah, Tobala, love Tobala.
And
You know, it's
something. Well, no, Lou, please do.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think it's really interesting to try the 2 side by side because, it's made, as you were saying, by the same father-son team. So these two spirits were made the same way by the same people using the same tools in the same place. Like everything is the same except the agave, which I think helps you to start thinking about, and I'm not, it'd be a mistake to say that all Tobola tastes like this, all Tepes, but it gives you some idea of the differences from one agave to the next, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. It's again, everyone here obviously has some sort of interest in mezcal and in agave distillates. For me, and the reason why I even got into this whole thing was I wanted to have a hand in sort of raising perception of Mexican culture as a Mexican American. And like this spirit in my mind is like one of the most complex spirits in the world. So being able to talk like this for an hour and a half about one category and go this deep and like we're barely scratching the surface is why I'm so in love with this,
Yeah, and something that we found fascinating about, well, because we had the chance to visit Temo like a few months ago, and like every palenque or every distillery that you visit, there's one specific thing that surprises you there that you've never seen before, and you always feel like either ignorant or again like you're just scratching the surface. And something that I loved about them, it's how crazy specific they are about their fermentation. I swear to God, I have never
that
seen
is so funny.
someone taking like such extreme caution in it. It's almost like they had like, I'm talking a lot about babies today, but it's almost like, like it's like a baby in the cradle and they don't want it to nothing bad happen to it. And they're chasing all the time. They're just really catering to get to a very precise place to it. And I think that the fact that Temo is a musician and that he tries, like he has a certain sensitivity in how he plays the music, I definitely think that has to have an influence in the way he understands his agave spirits making. And that was just like so amazing, fascinating to see.
Absolutely. That's a lovely observation. Temo is the son of a mezcalero who's been active for a very long time. He really does like take into consideration his father's tradition and everything that his dad has done. But Temo is such like an artist. I know you all had that conversation about, is mezcal artistry? Is it something that should be considered art? I'm in the category of believing it is.
Yes.
But he really, really, really does treat it as an art. He experiments. He looks for feedback. He wants to see what other people are thinking. Obviously, like at the core of it is his own what he enjoys about what he's making, but he does look for feedback. He does like to see other people enjoying the stuff that he's making. He likes to see it resonate with people, and he loves that immediate feedback. And I like that we get to help him like with that, because it's such a small thing. Like the stuff we're trying to think is like 660 bottles, and I'm pretty sure between the three of us we drank about 100 of them, so it's only about 560.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely observation. Yeah.
Great.
And so remind me, David, where exactly are you available? Are you just California?
California, Arizona, and we can ship to a bunch of states. I don't know how that works, but a bunch of states through our website.
But it happens. It happens.
So okay, that's interesting. So okay, if I happen to have Liza's very happy that you're in Colorado. So if I happen to be running a bar in Boston. Man, Boston's a really bad example. If I'm running a bar, Rhode Island. If I'm running a bar in Rhode Island, can I order a bottle off of your website and then serve it at my bar, or can I just drink it? I
wish I could say yes, but you can order it to drink it. Order it to serve at the bar is a different story. That's a separate conversation for sure, because obviously we got, everybody here knows, I feel like the 3-tier system, we're working with that. But yeah, you can order, you can drink it at home. And whatever you do after that, you don't.
Well, you can share it with the other bartenders at your bar. You can share it with the other guys
That's
you're working at. You don't need to share it with the customers, Lou. Like,
and then you're right. Share it amongst yourselves. Get and talk to the customers about it and get them excited, and then start pounding on David on his website. Send him through the beautiful website. Send him through his contact page. Hey, we all want you out here in Rhode Island.
Yeah. There we go. Seriously, that's the way to do it. If I have enough people in a certain state, I feel like I have a case for a distributor to take us on. So super small batch stuff, but I love getting this in front of people that actually appreciate it, that want to learn more, want to geek out about it, that just want to experience something special and unique.
Beautiful. Okay, so we got to kick you off, but before we do, just real quickly, Chava and I will be doing Agave Road Trip live with you. Is that correct? Like you and Temo are going to be joining us. And Temo, is it going to happen? Is it happening?
I can't wait. It's absolutely happening. Whatever it takes.
Are we any closer to getting Temo his visa? So that he can play his music and I can sing. Okay,
Yes.
so there you go. Little,
Yep.
there's the official announcement. That's as official as I get. Okay, David, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the spirits. These are beautiful, and thank you so much for Temo.
Chill, David.
Awesome.
See ya.
Thank you. Thank you all. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Okay.
Hey, change screen. Change screen. I want to beat you to this. Yeah, I want to feel competent and stuff. Okay, let's see.
God, it'd be great if I could actually feel that you were competent.
Hey, come on.
Hey,
man.
Hey.
No bullying. No bullying.
All bullying. Did I beat you?
No.
No.
It was almost there. Luis, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Chava and Lou, how are ya?
Mito
Doing great.
Cayo. Good. How are you?
Very good. Enjoying some cupriata here.
Oof, yeah. Enjoying cupriata on the background and on the mouth. That's the way to go for it.
On the lips. Cheers.
Yeah.
So, okay, so salud. So we started this journey like 4 hours ago. We started the journey in Jalisco, of course, with 818's Tequila. And now we've walked through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mezcals made in Oaxaca. So I guess mezcal's only made in Oaxaca. Is that correct?
Oh, no. Au contraire, Lou.
Okay, so
eight other states where you can do mezcal, and Guerrero.
Oh, wait.
Well,
No, there's
sorry,
9 other states.
Nine.
Oh,
Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. 9 more.
Sinaloa.
And
Anyway.
if it happens, 3 more.
So if it happens, 3 more, really?
There's
Yeah,
still in the
remember,
works.
there's 3 states there in.
Oh yeah, there's still Aguas Caliente. Yeah, okay.
Morelos, yeah.
Wait, so do you want to start? Because you gave us also 2 bottles that I did a very poor job of labeling because they look so similar. People might be
They're
confused.
just the same.
It's all mezcal.
It's all mezcal. It's all good.
So what do you want to start with? Do you want to because I feel it's weird if we do the cupriata from the warrior state Guerrero. That was close.
Sorry, that was good.
Is that close?
You practice.
Okay. If we start there and then we jump back to Oaxaca with the reposado, it feels weird to me. Am I crazy?
You're crazy. But let's stay in.
Okay, do what you want to do.
Let's you have your Espadín aged 2 months in American oak and new barrels that you can try. It's as the Espadín aged, or how do you say with Prisa? Repose? Or how is it?
Repose.
Repose.
Are you mocking me?
Between Guerrero and
Guerrero,
No, it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
It's very
So
fair.
let's go to Guerrero.
Please. Yeah, let's cut to the chase. Yeah.
Yeah, the state where you can go to the beach, Acapulco, very famous Acapulco. So the Amaras Cupriata is only an hour from Acapulco. You reach Chilpancingo, which is an hour just before Acapulco Beach. And instead of going into Chilpancingo, you turn left and you go towards Tixla. And in that between Chilpancingo and Tixla, it's our facility, our distillery, where Ivan works this amazing plant that you can see behind me in a very semi-tropical between 1,200 and 1,300 meters above sea level, which is almost 300 to 400 meters below Oaxaca in terms of an agave. That just changed everything in terms of tasting, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
The altitude, the climate, semi-tropical, and everything that you have around the agave when you're producing the agave changes. So that's what you're gonna feel in the flavor of that herbal, that veggie type of product, no? A little bit cacao in it. So in terms of process between our Espadín and Cupriata of Oaxaca, it's very small. I mean, you have red oak for both to cook the agave. The only big difference is, or 2 main differences are that we don't use a taona. We use a small shredder because in Guerrero, they shifted from a wooden mass on a canoe all the way to a small shredder. The Tahona didn't reach Guerrero, actually. I only knew Moises Calzada, may he rest in peace, for a few years back, whose son is working in the facility. He is making our cupriata, the son of Moises Calzada.
And that's, I mean, just to say it, like, that's like having the son of Michael Jordan play a basketball team, right? Like that's just like that's insane that you have that. I have one puntas from Moises, and I have, if I were to have a save, that's where those puntas will go. So yes.
His two sons work with us. Marcos doing the liquid and Beto doing the planting of the agave. We have more than 60,000 agaves cupriata planted, and more than 150,000 in a nursery for the next 2 years to plant.
Awesome.
So
hang on a second. Sorry, I'm going to derail you. 150,000 in the nursery to plant, and you can leave them in the nursery. Like, what happened? Like,
you need to grow them for at least a year and a half, 2 years in a nursery so they can survive on the wild or on the fields.
That's interesting. That long.
Two main reasons. One is the roots; they have to grab roots, and two, it's easier. It's less probable that cows or animals eat it at that size, because when it's small and I mean in the size of a lemon or a little bit bigger, cows going and eat it, and we learned that
the hard way.
We learned that very hard way. So we do have agaves planted, and the process of the shredder changed a little bit. We ferment the same way as in Oaxaca, only the levels of water, bagasse and sugar changes. And the stilling pots, which is in copper, they have a different form than in Oaxaca. It's not a bell-shaped cover for the steel pots. It's a conical, like pyramid size. If
for
you
the
change
condenser.
in the cap of the steel, the coil is the same. And Ivan and Marcos work there every day. Actually, tomorrow we're sending leaders to Oaxaca. So it's an amazing place. It's an amazing mezcal. We won double gold in San Francisco Challenge.
Oh, that is beautiful.
This 2021.
So thank you. These are great. And while these are part of your standard line, correct?
Correct. We have the Espadín, the Reposé, and the Cupriata.
Awesome.
Smart ass. But you guys also are I know this because Chava and I will be in New York in 2 days trying to pour your Lohia line. And
Lohia
Lojaya.
Anyway, so you've got this line of small batch spirits coming out, correct? That are going to be just like one-offs? Is that how it's working?
So yes, the Loja section, we have the Cenizo from Durango, an amazing mezcal from Gilberto Roldan, who makes for other brands. I think you know Gilberto Roldan.
We know Gilberto. That man, he made a Bear Day that blew my ears out.
It's amazing. I went to Durango a couple of weeks ago. His Verde is extraordinary. And then we launched, that one is a line of a Logia. That's always going to be there, the Cenizo, obviously small volumes. And then this year we're launching the Tobalá in clay pots and the Sierra Negra, both from Oaxaca. We made that Tobalá with our own agave. Part of the Tobalá was harvested of our own agaves planted a few years back. And the Sierra Negra, we haven't harvested the ones that we planted, but it's from Juanito Martinez, a maestro mezcalero there in Mitla. So those two are going to be launched in the U.S. Next week or tomorrow, I think. No, tomorrow. And those two are going to change each year. So next year you're going to have two new Lojas for the range as a surprise for the U.S.
Love it.
Love surprises. Beautiful.
Each year too.
And I just really love that you're working in Guerrero, and congratulations. Really, La Cupriata is out of this world, and it's an area that we're still dying to visit and to explore more. And I think that brands like you bringing that to the peoples, it's a great effort. And man, it's all about diversity, right? I think this category, it's so fascinating because there's so much that is still to be unpacked. And I think you guys are the forefront of that. So congratulations, Luis.
Thank you, Chava. Yeah, good news can come out from Guerrero, and
Yeah,
what else
right?
than that type of mezcal, no?
Good
Awesome.
news. Is this what we're calling news?
Yes.
This is news? Okay, I like that.
For many of who's listening, I'm guessing it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Luis. I look forward to drinking with you again in Mexico City very soon.
You too, Lou. You too, Chava.
See ya, Luis.
I finished my
Adiosito.
chocolates.
Oh, we'll get you some more.
Yeah. Thanks for
Cheers.
letting us know. Awesome.
Ciao.
See ya.
Yeah, we should send him some chocolate. He's a nice man. He gives us good booze.
Yeah.
Speaking of giving us good booze, let's pull up Sal from La Luna.
My tocayo.
This
I
is
haven't
it. This
seen
is
Sal
the
in a
end,
while.
people. It's
The
the end.
I haven't seen the
It's
tocayo in a long
the-
time. Wondering how's he doing. I changed it.
He's busy. He's so busy. He's not getting the cheese that he promised me to Chicago. That's how busy he is.
I just got it to you.
You got me one wheel. You didn't even get me a whole wheel. Let's be honest here, shall we?
Let's do it.
It was like a quarter wheel. You could have shipped me a whole, or did Les steal the rest of it?
A cotija? Yes, he probably did. I gave him 10 kilos. 10 kilos is nothing to joke about. The FedEx cost was expensive, man. Real.
Fair. Sorry. Hey, Sal from La Luna, welcome.
¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo andan? How are you guys?
We're good. We're we're not as exhausted as we should be. We've been traveling a lot around. I was in Michoacán.
¿Qué onda, Sebio?
I was in Tacámbaro, man, and I really
When?
wanted to. Like 2 days ago. I still have the bites.
I just got back.
From yeah, man. I just every time I go to Michoacán, I just get teary-eyed. Like just like feel like my childhood is crawling, like creeping on me. I just love so much that place.
Well, luckily for me, it's either home number 1 or home number 2, depending on what month it is. So it's been nice. It's been nice.
So okay, so we're now you're literally our last producer here. So the fact that you were running late is kind of perfect, Sal.
I don't know. It's either fortuitous or either I should take offense of being last, or I don't know how to take. But it's all good.
No, you know what?
Maybe
Like
I get you the cheese.
That's right. That'll teach you. No, honestly, like I put you last because I think there's we did all of these Oaxacan spirits, which obviously I love. So much of the work that Sacred does, so much of the work, like right now, 90% of the work that we do is in Oaxaca. But the truth is, right, like there are these 9 states where you can make mezcal. You can certify your agave spirit as mezcal, I should say, because of course they're making it everywhere. And in Michoacan, like you guys, you're number 2 in terms of production. And I think that's an important point because as agave spirits, as mezcal scales up, right? Like we were talking with Sombra and with Banhez about how they approach that concept of scaling up. I think one of the things that's important to think about is how do you redirect the environmental impact so it's not all on a single state? I'm not suggesting we shouldn't be drinking things out of Oaxaca. Obviously, we just drank 10
a lot out of Oaxaca, yeah.
But I am saying like that we need to have an alternative or we're going to overburden a single place. And you guys have figured out how to make a large-scale cupriata production out of Michoacan that I think is delicious and works well in a cocktail.
And just
go ahead.
Sorry, and just to give a very fine point about that, you're saying large production, Lou, and there's a question of how big is La Luna? And
That's
I
a good
think
question.
when we're talking about the production, there's always necessity to give context in the
That's
mezcal
a really
context.
good point.
So I think that this part of the conversation is going to be really fun for everybody because I think it's going to like culminate into a couple of things that maybe are even news to you guys. So we right now as a brand produce 18 expressions, right? Amongst the stuff that we produce.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
So
but not regularly. It's not like you've got 18 that you're constantly.
So probably about 8 are regularly. So, and that's only because I can tell you based on demand right now, when we get ordered, like we've been back ordered on the Manso Chino Ensemble, that one's almost ready to bring up. We've been back ordered on a couple of the single species varietals like Bruto or the Chino. This year we introduced 5 ensembles, all 5 won double golds in San Francisco Spirits competition. So we won 5 double golds this year, 1 last year. And you know, the way that we're diversifying our lineup in Michoacan is through ensembles, because our biodiversity isn't as extreme or as plentiful as Oaxaca. So, you know, in order to kind of like accomplish our goal of like really representing the full state and all of the terroir and all of the aromas and flavors that we can, you know, get our hands on, it really became that one of the things that we did in order to kind of do that was we did that 6 maguey ensemble of all the 6 agaves from Michoacan. So we did 1 ton of each in the oven in Cotija. And to me, I was just sharing that with my dad the other day. It's probably the most special batch we did because of that. Not, you know, there's some others that probably rival the taste. Maybe you're better, depends on who's tasting them, or worse, depending on, you know, once again, the palate. But to me, it's the most special because it was 1 ton of Espadincillo, Bruto, Chino, Manto Saguayo, Tequilana, and Salmiana from like Pátzcuaro area, Tarímbaro.
Nice.
And so, you know, it was fun from that perspective. But what I was going to tell you guys is, in order to scale, one of the things that we did do is we pivoted our black label into an ensemble. So what you guys have right now might be like not what you have, more recently. So our batches that we came up with recently, I know, right? New. That's what I'm saying. New. Some people might have noticed it already in California, because California already, if they're using us in the cocktail program, we have an ensemble.
It's an ensemble of what? Cupriata and
Tequilana and Manto Saguayo.
Oh, it's all 3.
Yeah, and the reason that is because to your guys' point, you guys made a great point earlier. The pressure that's put onto one agave, period, is obviously extreme, and we were the Cupriata kings in that sense, in terms of that particular label and the volumes that we were producing.
Wow.
And, you know, kind of, you know, not getting ahead of ourselves. The one thing we did first is we introduced that ensemble into the San Francisco Spirits competition. Not that we needed validation from their competition, but it won a double gold, so we felt better about our decision. And the reason that works is because Manto Saguayo and Tequilana both have more bricks to it than Cupriata.
And when you're saying bricks, you're talking about the adobe bricks we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, something like that.
Sugar
bricks would be post
sugar,
right? Using the bagazo. Yeah, the sugar. They
sugar,
both have more sugar content than Cupriata, and it makes for you know, in my opinion, a nicer tasting profile, even though I thought we already did a good job with the black label. Now, what's nice is now our only single Cupriata is our Chino. So this will be our only 100% Cupriata, is going to be our Chino. And one thing that we introduced also is this Espadincillo as a single varietal, which is going to be kind of nice too for the market. But yeah, you
are totally going to be messing it up for when I do your tasting. I like to do farmed versus wild on the Cupriata, and I can't do that now.
That's true. But I feel better about it because Michoacan will be better for it, will be better for it. And, you know, the relationship that we had built,
that's awesome.
Manto Saguayo and the Baldovino family and that northwest side of Michoacan, the Tequilana, obviously in abundance in that state. One of the largest owners of Blue Weber in the whole country is from Jiquilpan, Michoacan. They own about 3,000 hectares of Blue Weber. And, you know, so there's a lot of Blue Weber in our state. And obviously Cupriata has been what everyone's planting. You know, the Tucuaro area is probably Tacámbaro where you were. It's all Cupriata. And we ourselves planted ourselves. So it's been nice.
So let me ask you, Sal, let's back up, because that question, I think it's an interesting question, like how big is La Luna? Can you talk, because it always impressed me when I was doing tastings for you guys, it always impressed me how small your batches were. What's a batch size for you? So
like these guys, you know, we're talking maybe like 200 liters here, maybe 400 liters here. So those are the size of those. The black label is always going to be the exception, where the way I always tell people is, you know, it's probably really hard for everyone to really fully understand what we try to accomplish. But the black label to me, which, you know, I keep on calling it black label because it's easier than to keep on saying Cupriata focus or Cupriata heavy, whatever, because that's how everyone knew us. That is like the pulse of our company, right? So those comes in much bigger liter sizes. Like we'll do 5,000, 10,000, depends on the month. Our biggest batch we did was 19,500. You know,
But just, you know, for perspective, because I think a lot of people don't understand this. For perspective, I think, and I could be a little bit off on this, but I think when you get like 4 Roses small batch, I think that's 40,000 liters.
Yeah, the 20,000 liters is nothing in the grand scheme of things of what's going on in the world, even of tequila. I was I almost fainted. Someone gave me the number that it was 230 million liters of tequila consumed in the U.S. alone, and I was like, "What?
Oh.
That's a
And
lot of tequila." So yeah, we're independent of how much bigger. If it's 10% bigger in 2 months, we're still going to be small. The other batches it's because of the rhythm of how we do it. Like anytime we do something cotija, like we're not yielding more than 300 liters total. Like it's pretty much 20 kilos per liter that we use in cotija when we do. I mean, that's not always the same because if we do bruto, it's less or it's more agave per liter. But everything else is like 300 liters at a time, and then the black label is the exception of really working with people like Eusebio, who's on here, who's been a great supporter of ours and makes delicious cocktails with our stuff, or other folks that I don't know who's on here. I know Michelle I saw in San Diego. And
do you notice that? Do you see what he's doing there? Like he's able to keep up with the conversation and reading stuff, Chava. Why aren't you able to, Chava?
I have limitations. I've never been shy about that.
You guys would have loved to been in San Diego, because I drove to San Diego and I walked across to Tijuana. I met Adrian, and Adrian brought me 5 different bottlings of puntas of different things we did, and I brought it to San Diego. And I know you're a big fan of them, Lou. So
we call those floors now. It's floors, not puntas.
La flor?
That's what I said.
Flor.
Floor.
Yeah, flor. Yeah, flor. I mean, depends. One of the things you had asked me, I think, Lou, you had asked me about like going through some differences of reach of our productions. Or no, was that not today? Or am I going crazy?
I think what we covered is good. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool. Just 2 questions for you, and then we're going to let everybody go because we're already 16 minutes late. Number 1, when are you going to be bringing your cotija cheese to the USA? Because it's the most amazing cheese I've ever had. Number 2, when do I get my pineapple distillate to sell to bars across the? When do you sell your pineapple distillate to bars across the U.S. so that I can drink it when I go to bars? When?
So I have an easier answer for the cotija cheese now. The pineapple distillate's definitely been like pushed back a little bit, but only because we're so busy with La Luna, luckily. So, but the cotija cheese is a work in progress. It's interesting. Someone recently asked about kind of La Luna as a whole, right? Like it's an interesting position to be in as a producer with Adrian and Hernan in terms of, you guys saw what we do, in terms of producing product instead of buying from people. And then the same thing came with cotija cheese, where it was like, I know my uncle Crescencio, which is the cheese you got, Lou. He would not want to listen to me about making some changes to be able to get USDA certified or FDA, but my cousins would. Like they might say, you know what? We're okay with using a stainless steel shelf instead of wood or something, because there are just slight things that I know have been holdups for the town to be able to produce real cotija cheese for this market of the U.S. And I want to make it happen too. I think I still claim it to be the best pairing, especially for our bruto, and so I want to make it happen too. So I would hope I think 2022 will not end without us bringing cotija cheese
to the masses.
To the US.
We are going to pull that sound quote, and I'm going to come back to you in a few months and just keep playing that for you.
That's fine. That's fine. I like
Beautiful.
Don't
Okay,
comply,
Sal,
Chava.
I'm going to, unless you've got something you want to finish with, I'm going to kick you off, and then Chava and I are going to make a wrap of all of this.
Thank you. I mean, thank you guys for running late so I could get on. Not for that reason, but so I could make it. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Chava.
Thanks, Sal. Good seeing you.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay. So, hey, I think that's pretty much a wrap. It's interesting. We just did an Agave Spirits 101, and so many of our presentations in the past have been like entirely uncertified Agave Spirits, right? And here we just did Tequila and Mezcal, which has, I'm sure everybody going, well, where's the Destilado Agave? Where's the Bacanora? Where's the Raicilla, right?
Yeah, but I think it's also good. Like, a little bit of what I'm liking now is that there's so many brands that are doing such specific things, and it's easier to understand. Like before, it was hard to even understand what an ensemble was, and now we have so many beautiful examples of ensembles, so you can like wrap your head about this specific thing. So take baby steps. Whereas before, I think it was everything so wild. Like, why is this coming from this place, this technology, these ways of understanding it, this ways of producing it, the fermentation? It's too much, Lou. I think this is a better approach.
Okay, so then maybe we end up doing another one that's just tequilas, and another one that's just raicillas, and another one that's just Bacanora, and then do Destilado de Agave, and I kind of dig that.
I think we should get more specific. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I dig that, and then we can get more into the Okay, I like that. Hey, Chava, it's been lovely spending time with you. Hey, everybody that I've not been able to speak to, it's been lovely spending time with you guys.
Yes.
This is going to be archived on our YouTube page, which you can find easily at mezcal.video or tequila.video or raicilla.video or bacanora. We bought all the videos. All the videos. Or it's video. I think it's singular.
And you see, they're saying more specific. Yes. So we have support for that approach.
One person says it, and you're on it. I get that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I will catch up with you on Wednesday, Chava.
Yes, in New York. Is it cold? I don't know.
It is cold, and everybody, please watch us on Saturday as we live cast from Bowl of Zole.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Margie, for telling me it's cold. I'm really gonna suffer. I hate the